Hey folks, welcome back. This is Chris in merry old England. And what do we see today in the news? But Cyril Ramaphosa has signed a statement of proclamation that allows people to hide their political campaign donations to parties in South Africa. This is bad news for South Africa's democracy. It's already chaotic enough. Now the parliament has left it at the discretion of the president, and he's taken advantage of that to double the amount of money you can donate to a political candidate, to a party, I should say, without reporting it, to 200,000 Rand. And the amount of money that can be accepted up to 30 million. It's crazy. Now, why would the leader of a political party do this? And that's what he is. Make no mistake, the first title for Cyril Ramaphosa is President of the African National Congress. And then, like all previous ANC presidents, his title as President of the Republic of South Africa comes second. It shows you where the ANC's focus is when it comes to the country of South Africa. The ANC is focused on the ANC and its cadres and its patronage network, not on South Africans. If you're not in that patronage network, if you're not a cater, then you really don't matter for the most part. You're just useful fodder for their arguments about racism and historically disadvantaged and all the other nonsense they come up with to justify their racist, criminal, morally bankrupt actions. So why would the leader of a political party do this? Why in the world would you double the amount of money that you can give privately? Well, so that people can funnel money to political parties for favors and not be identified. This is a problem. In America, you are capped. I think it's $4,000 now in a cycle for a political candidate at the federal level. That's it. You can't give any more, which, of course, because of the ridiculous McCain-Feingold legislation, led to the proliferation of political action committees that can be funded by people. They pour their money into them, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions over the course of a campaign for president. And that money goes there and it supports candidates. They run attack ads against their opposition. I mean, like, for instance, right now, those political action committees are being used to tarnish my representative, Scott Perry, retired Brigadier General from the Pennsylvania National Guard, making all kinds of ludicrous claims about him and Social Security and all these other things he has absolutely nothing to do with. He's a member of Congress. But they're trying to destroy his reputation in advance of next year's election, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars donated. Now, nobody can give that money individually, but they sure can give it to a PAC. And that's the same thing that is going to happen in South Africa, except you don't need a PAC now. They've doubled the amount of money you can give away without identifying yourself. Frankly, any donation should be matter of public knowledge in my book. If you give money to a political candidate, your name should be available for the public to know. Simple as that. And certainly the amount of money that they're floating out there for South Africa now needs to be identified. South Africa needs more sunshine, more daylight, not obscurity, not opaque behavior. The government is opaque enough, hiding what it does from the public. It needs to be more honest and more transparent. For instance, we know for a fact, if you just look at the numbers, that there's some fishy stuff going on with the last election. In the last election, the ANC was bankrupt. They had so little money that they were unable to pay off a party planner from the previous national elections in 2019. They owed them 102 million Rand in payments they never gave them because they didn't have the money. And they ignored it for years. Only in November 2023 to have the court come after them. And the sheriff of the high court went to Thule House headquarters of the ANC, and they inventoried all the items in the building. Microwaves, fax machines, ostensibly, computers, desks, chairs, to be sold at public auction because the ANC's dead. They were in default. And the court case was won by the people they owed money to. By then, the fees and interest had built them up to another almost 151 million Rand, I think it was. So suddenly, Naledi Pandor made a trip to Tehran. She came back from Tehran, and the process was halted. And suddenly, an agreement was reached with the party company. They got their 102 million Rand, but not the interest. So their money was worth less than it had been 4 years prior. They got their money in late 2023, and the interest and penalties were never paid, apparently. So the 102 million Rand was paid off, but the ANC didn't have 102 million Rand. Where did they come up with 102 million Rand? Either it was a donation in South Africa, or they got the money from Tehran or elsewhere. But none of that was reported. You must report donations. They don't have money. If Chancellor House or the Bato Trust sends the money, they must report that. No such donation was made. No such donation was ever given to the Independent Electoral Commission. So there's a crime or something's happening there. On top of that, they then had a birthday party for 112th anniversary of the African National Congress at Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. They spent 20 million Rand, according to the press, for that party. So that's 122 million Rand that they didn't have days before. And then on top of that, they ran an election campaign through May 29th, which cost them tens of millions and more Rand. Where did that money come from? Now, some of that money is reported by the Chancellor House and Bato Trust putting money into their campaign. A little bit of it's reported, but most of that money is reported. And certainly, who knows what they spent on an election campaign, but I'm willing to bet they spent at least 40 to 50 million Rand minimum. 40 to 50 million rand. It's not much money, actually, a few $1,000,000. So take that money, add it to the 102 plus the other 20 million. We're talking upwards of 170, 200 million rand that they didn't have, and there aren't sufficient donations to the IEC for the ANC over that period to account for that money. So now, because they want more obscurity, more opaqueness, they're doubling the amount of money that can be donated and doubling the individual contributions that don't have to be reported. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? That benefits parties like the ANC and the DA who are able to get lots of support from white monopoly capital, if such a thing exists, from these trusts that are put out there. It allows them to build nest eggs, and it hurts smaller parties. And it hurts South Africans because now more people can give money in secret to the party to curry favor, to get things to go their way, to win contracts at the local level, provincial level, at the national level, to curry the favor that they seek. So now, instead of being more honest, more transparent, and more open to the public, Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC are trying to be more secretive and hide the secrets and not let you see them. It's not a good outcome, folks. This is bad news for South Africa's democracy. Democracy should be transparent. People should be limited in what they can donate to political parties and to political causes. Otherwise, you're just buying votes. And it's bad enough that many people in South Africa think that their SASSA grant, their welfare grant of whole $23, comes from the ANC. It doesn't. It comes from the taxpayers, the few people in South Africa who actually pay taxes. It comes from them. Now, it was granted to them by a parliament, but it wasn't just the ANC that voted on it. Virtually every party voted in favor of these stupid SASSA grants. And I say stupid because instead of generating jobs, South Africa is generating welfare cases and driving the country further into poverty because the failed socialist policies of the ANC simply do not work. And there you have it, folks. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. This is bad news for South Africa's democracy. Instead of letting people know who's giving money to political candidates, Ramaphosa has approved hiding it. And that's not a good outcome. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi? Cheers.